I really don't care what happens to her at all. I don't care. Like everybody they tiptoe around with this social media. But what y'all don't get is that it be real consequence for y'all little flexes, y'all quick flexes for $300 that you need. It be consequences.
What happens when a personal feud escalates into a full-blown emotional explosion in front of everyone? Aaron, frustrated and fed up with months of tension, finally strikes first, confronting Iman in a way that sends shockwaves through their already fragile relationship. Iman, overwhelmed by the confrontation, screams out in despair, "You ruined my life." The confrontation wasn't just about pride or control. It was the culmination of months of silent resentment, misunderstandings, and unresolved grievances. This wasn't a private argument anymore. It was a dramatic, emotional, and explosive moment that exposed raw feelings and decades-long pain in a public and unforgettable way. Brace yourself for a story filled with anger, heartbreak, and shocking revelations that show what happens when bottled-up emotions finally boil over. The tension between Aaron and Iman had been building silently for months. What started as small disagreements and passive-aggressive messages escalated into constant friction. Every interaction, whether in private messages or in-person encounters, had layers of hidden resentment and unspoken frustrations. Friends and family had noticed the change, often warning them that their ongoing tension was unhealthy, but both were too consumed by pride and hurt to listen. Aaron had been trying to maintain control, holding back from expressing the full scope of his frustrations, while Iman had been silently simmering with anger and disappointment over what he felt were repeated slights and betrayals. The pressure reached its peak one evening when both met in a familiar space, expecting a casual exchange. Instead, the air was thick with tension, every glance charged with unspoken accusations. Aaron knew that if he didn't confront Iman now, the resentment would continue to fester, poisoning their interactions further. Iman, on the other hand, felt cornered, ready to explode if Aaron made even the smallest provocation. Friends who were nearby sensed the danger, but no one could have anticipated the intensity of what was about to happen. Aaron stepped forward, taking a deep breath, and broke the silence with a firm voice. "Iman, we need to stop pretending everything is fine. I can't do this anymore." The words were simple but loaded with the weight of months of suppressed anger. Iman, already on edge, recoiled slightly, his eyes narrowing. "Do what? Speak. Or accuse me?" he snapped, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and fury. Aaron didn't flinch. He looked Iman straight in the eyes, letting every word carry the power of unspoken grievances. "I'm done being the only one holding this together. I've stayed silent, I've ignored things I shouldn't have, but now I'm done. We need to face the truth." The impact was immediate. Iman's chest heaved as he tried to regain composure, but the weight of Aaron's words cut deep. "You think you can just strike first and it's all about you?" he screamed, the room echoing with his rage. The frustration and despair that had built up over months finally erupted, his voice cracking with emotion. Aaron remained calm but determined. "No, it's not about me. It's about finally saying what needs to be said before this destroys everything completely." The dam broke. Iman's emotions spilled over, filling the room with raw, unfiltered pain. "Do you even realize what you've done?" he shouted, voice trembling and loud enough to be heard across the street. "You've ruined trust, ruined friendships, and made everything a battlefield. Do you think this is easy for me? That I can just sit here quietly?" Aaron listened, his expression unreadable, but inside, he felt the weight of the past months as much as Iman did. Every accusation, every scream, every trembling word carried the emotional toll of their shared history. Iman continued, pacing back and forth like a caged animal, his movements erratic and filled with frustration. His internal storm was raging, and every step seemed to amplify the intensity of his emotions. "I tried to be patient, I tried to communicate," he said, his voice rising with each word. "But you kept pushing. You made me question everything, my decisions, my relationships, my sanity." His voice cracked slightly as the weight of his words sank in. "And now, after all this, you walk in thinking you can strike first." Iman's anger was palpable, and the tension in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. His face was flushed, his hands clenched into fists at his sides, as if he were holding back the full force of his emotions, afraid that any more could spill out uncontrollably. Aaron, though calm on the surface, knew that there was no turning back now. His eyes, though steady, held a deep intensity. He had tried to remain composed for so long, but this moment had been building for months. "I didn't come to hurt you," he said quietly, each word cutting through the tension like a knife. The room seemed to hold its breath as Aaron's voice resonated in the charged air. "I came to end the silence and stop the cycle of destruction. If I don't speak now, it will never end." Aaron's words were filled with a quiet desperation. He wasn't just confronting Iman. He was confronting the years of unresolved issues that had been festering between them. The emotion in his voice, though restrained, was no less powerful. It was clear that he had reached his breaking point. This wasn't just about the situation at hand. It was about the years of pain, frustration, and misunderstanding that had built up to this explosive moment. Everyone in the room froze. Some were in shock, unable to process the rawness of the confrontation unfolding before them. Others tried to mediate, urging calm, but the emotions were too intense to contain. Whispers of disbelief spread quickly across the room. No one had seen Iman like this before. His usual calm demeanor was replaced by an explosive outburst, and the tension was palpable. At the same time, no one had expected Aaron to confront Iman so openly. There had always been an unspoken understanding that they would remain polite, tiptoeing around the emotions they both struggled with. Now, the gloves were off, and the truth was spilling out. Phones, which had been quietly placed on tables, were discreetly recording snippets of the scene, capturing every word, every gesture, and every visible tremor of anger that passed between the two. The audience, once passive observers, had now become part of the drama, their every reaction recorded for the world to see. Family members tried to step in, some pleading for calm, while others simply stood by, watching in stunned silence. Even they could sense the depth of the years-long resentment and heartbreak that was being poured out in this confrontation. The tension had reached a boiling point, and there was no way to turn back. The atmosphere was electric, a strange mixture of fear, empathy, and awe at the raw human emotions on display. The room felt both incredibly close and impossibly far, as if time had suspended itself in this charged moment. This was no longer just a private argument between two individuals. It was a moment that would define them, for better or for worse, in front of those who had been close to them for years. Aaron's strike had done more than provoke Iman. It had forced everyone around them to witness the full scope of the damage that had been hidden beneath years of polite smiles and forced conversations. The private hurt, the bitterness, the quiet moments of emotional neglect, all of it had now been laid bare. Emotions that had been simmering silently for months now roared to the surface, creating a scene that no one present would ever forget. It was a moment of vulnerability, raw and unfiltered, that would resonate far beyond the four walls of that room. The confrontation had pulled back the curtain on the years of emotional turmoil that had gone unnoticed by most, revealing the deep fractures in their relationship that had been ignored for far too long. By the next morning, clips from the confrontation had flooded social media. What had once been a deeply personal and private moment was now out in the world for everyone to dissect. Fans, observers, and even casual viewers were divided. Some supported Aaron for finally standing up and confronting the reality of his emotional turmoil, while others sympathized with Iman's heartbreak, seeing him as the victim of Aaron's aggressive outburst. Hashtags like #AaronStrikesFirst and #ImanScreams trended globally, sparking widespread conversation about the emotional weight of the confrontation and its implications. It wasn't just a spat between two individuals, it had become a global spectacle. Analysis videos, reactions, and heated debates flooded timelines, dissecting every word, every gesture, every emotional cue captured in the footage. Social media became a battleground for opinions, with fans aligning themselves with one side or the other, passionately defending their perspective. This once private feud had transformed into a public spectacle, a lightning rod for conversations about accountability, pride, and emotional expression. Some fans saw Aaron's actions as an overdue reckoning, a moment of honesty that had been long suppressed. Others saw it as a manipulative attempt to shift blame and control the narrative. Iman's supporters felt that the intensity of Aaron's confrontation was uncalled for, while Aaron's defenders believed it was a necessary step in ending the cycle of secrecy and emotional damage. The public's reaction was swift and unforgiving. This wasn't just a fight between two men. It was a reflection of the complexity of human relationships, the toll of suppressed emotions, and the consequences of unchecked pride and resentment. The drama that had unfolded behind closed doors was now out in the open, and the world was watching. This confrontation was no longer just about Aaron and Iman. It had become a conversation about how we handle our emotions, how we deal with our personal battles, and what happens when the pressure becomes too much to bear. The explosive confrontation was only the beginning. The fallout, in both their personal lives and the court of public opinion, had only just begun. Yet, beyond the social media frenzy, both Aaron and Iman were forced to confront the real emotional fallout. The public attention was distracting, but it was nothing compared to the raw reality of having exposed their pain so openly, and now dealing with the consequences of a confrontation that couldn't be undone. After the confrontation, both Aaron and Iman were left to process their emotions. For Aaron, speaking his truth brought a mixture of relief and lingering guilt. For Iman, the scream that left his lips was cathartic, yet painful, exposing vulnerabilities he had tried to hide for months. Both recognized that the relationship had changed irrevocably, and that the road to reconciliation or continued conflict would be long and uncertain. Every word spoken, every emotion displayed, would now define how they interacted going forward, shaping their connection in ways they could never have anticipated. With emotions laid bare, the confrontation ended but left lingering questions. Will Aaron and Iman find a way to move forward, or has the first strike irrevocably changed everything? Can reconciliation happen after such a raw emotional exposure? Or is this the beginning of a deeper fracture? The next chapters of their story remain unwritten, and the world watches, captivated by the human drama that unfolded so publicly and painfully. What do you think about Aaron's decision to confront Iman first? Was it necessary? Or did it escalate the conflict unnecessarily? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For more updates on Aaron and Iman's ongoing story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. We'll keep you updated as this emotional saga continues to unfold.